Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're going to be taking a look at the Premium Bandai HGUC Jesta Shezarr Type Team A version. This is from the Gundam Narrative movie, and there is also the Team B and C version. We'll be taking a look at that version of the Jesta next, both of which are both P-Bandai kits, unfortunately. But this version basically just gives you a little bit different stickers, a couple different parts there for the legs, which are quite interesting. Very obviously a new backpack on it, and then, of course, the new part there for the front of the head, which will add that extra little camera bit on there, which seems a little bit illogical for a giant robot, but okay, we'll go with that. It's interesting. So you do have a lot of leftover parts from the Stark Jagan, which is where the main part of the backpack comes from, as well as just some leftover parts, of course, from just the original Jesta kit. So we'll be taking a look at all of that here in the review. First thing is, I can't give you a 360-degree view of the kit quite yet because as it is with the stands there on the back of the fuel tanks, it doesn't fit on my rotating base. So let's just take a look at that first. So this kit definitely cannot stand up on its own without these little attachments on there, these little stands for the fuel tanks to help it stand, just because it's obviously very, very back heavy with those. These fuel tanks are from the Full Armor Unicorn, the HGUC Full Armor Unicorn kit, not from the new RG, and not from the Narrative Gundam, which did also have similar fuel tanks, but these are a little bit different because of this part here for the stand. The ones for the Narrative Gundam Apex do not have little stands on them, so you just have to pull off this. You can pull out that stand there. As you can see, you can choose different heights for that, actually. But we'll put this back on here. Remove the other one here as well, just so we can get them up on a stand. So there you go. Now that you guys can get a proper look around the kit, just want to say, as always, a huge thank you to USA Gundam Store for sponsoring this review. Guys, do check out the link to USA Gundam Store there down below. They have P-Bandai kits there, so if you are in the market for checking some out, of course, you can check those out there and save 10% with my coupon code there. And putting this kit together is very nice. If you guys have never built a high-grade Jesta, it's very nice. Of course, the Master Grade is better. The Master Grade is probably one of the best Master Grades out there. It's very, very good. The High Grade, though, is definitely no slouch either. The High Grade is a really nice kit. Before, I've only ever built the clear color version, which is also a pretty nice clear color version, if you're into that sort of thing. But building the regular version here was also very fun. It's a really, really nice high grade, as you'll see over the course of this review. Definitely going to be weighed down quite a bit by just the weight of that backpack, but if you've got it up on a stand, you can definitely still do some cool posing with it. And we've got just kind of the standard Jagan weapons loadout that we'll be able to take a look at here as well. So let's get into it. So first, for our accessories, we have some different hand options. As you can see on the kit there, we have our closed fists, so it's always nice to have those, as well as a set of open expressive hands here, so those are nice as well. Then we have a set of holding hands here. These would be for holding the beam saber, one for the left and one for the right. And then finally, a trigger finger hand for the right hand only, which I have already attached on here onto the Jesta's beam rifle there with little stickers there for the front and back of the little scope. Very nice. So as you can see, hand options are exceptional, as well as this just super cool looking rifle. Anyway, and then we do also have our two clear pink beam saber effect parts for the beam saber, which is stored in the back of the arm. You only have one beam saber though, so you will have an extra one of those. These are the short type also, by the way, and 1/144 scale, so they're not going to be very long. And then other than the stands for the fuel tank, which we already saw, that is it for its accessories, but I do just want to mention about the stickers. And as you can see, a few of these stickers I haven't used, and that is because they were almost impossible to actually get on. So a few of them are just for cameras and things. Obviously here on the head, we have a little pink one there, a little pink circle for the front of that camera. On the back of the head, we have an orange sticker there, a little sticker here for the little V on the crotch part. For the front of the chest, stickers here, that light blue here, the light blue here, that's stickers. Around here on the back skirt, little sticker there. On the back of the legs, little sticker there. So anything that's in this light blue color on the main mobile suit is a sticker, just because there wasn't anything molded in that light blue color except for the fuel tanks. But these stickers here are meant to go inside of these vents here on the back of the leg, and it was just really, really hard to get that in there and get it formed correctly. That's why one is actually used, because I tried putting one in, it just wasn't going to happen. And then for these ones over here, these go on the front of the leg. Inside these little vents here on the front of the shin, those are supposed to go, again, inside there, so you have to kind of sort of fit that in there and then fold the S size up on the inside walls of that part, and it just wasn't happening. If you guys can get in there better than me, then that's fine, but I would say I wouldn't even bother with those. I mean, maybe give it a try if you want, but that just was not happening if you care about using the stickers. But then with this, of course, using parts from different kits, we have some leftover parts. We have the full Jagan backpack here, so if you just prefer, for whatever reason, to use the original backpack, you have that here, as well as with the shield and the different connection piece there for the arm. For that is also included. We have just the original headpiece, though. For that, you won't have a sticker, so you would have to maybe cut your own out of like a little bit of a sticker there for that little camera there on the front of that. But if you prefer the original headpiece, you do have that one as well. And some notable parts left over from the Stark Jigen. You have these big giant missile pods for on the shoulders. You don't have the actual missile parts there inside there, so you'd have to maybe scratch build that or something if you wanted to try to use these, or just scratch build a part like just to cover that on the front, as well as the parts here that go on the side of the arms of the Stark Jigen as well. I could see you possibly being able to adapt these onto this kit if you wanted to try to do some kit bashing, but otherwise I would say just throw these in your parts bin and use them for another later kit bash. And last thing that I want to mention is here for the back of the leg. Now this is the original part for the back of the leg, and then you have a new part and a new knee joint part in here. Now it doesn't really seem anything that's related to the design. It's nothing like updated with the design, but actually what this does is it updates the articulation here. You get a much better, more full knee bend out of this kit now because of this new part, because they basically eliminated this part. So we have this molded detail at the top of this part in the back of the leg. What they did now is mold that detail together with the knee joint so that gives you more space for the knee joint to bend back here, whereas before it would have been limited by that part there. So that's a pretty nice update that they made to the kit that wasn't really necessary to the overall aesthetic look, the aesthetic changes that they needed to make this narrative version of it. But it's nice that they went in and did that little adjustment to give us a little bit better articulation there in the knee. So speaking of articulation, let's get into that, but I just want to remove the backpack first because it's going to make it a lot more difficult to do. But while we're here, we'll take a look at the backpack. Basically, the only thing that moves is these little bits here on the side. Again, same with the Stark Jigen, those move up and down a little bit, and that's pretty much it as far as the articulation of the backpack. As you can see, the other two fuel tanks are attached here onto the back of the back skirt. So I'm just going to remove these here as well. Alright, so starting with the head, that will move up to there, which is not too bad, and then down to there, very nice. For the shoulders, unfortunately, you have this seam line down the middle of the shoulder armor, but you can pull those forward thanks to that swinging polycap ball joint there. It will bring those shoulders nice and far forward. Shoulder will move up to about to there, then you can bring the arm up to pretty far there because that will move out separately, so you get a really nice high bend there up in the shoulders. Otherwise, the arm is pretty standard. Rotation here at the top. Got a nice bend there at the elbow, giving you more than 90 degrees, but not a full bend. You can see on the back of this arm, we've got our beam saber handle stored there. On the back of the opposite arm, it's supposed to be ammo for the rifle. And of course, the wrist is just on a ball joint. And as you can see here on the forearm, another seam line there on the front. In the stomach section, there's not going to be really any bend forward and backwards, side to side there, but you do have some rotation that is just going to be happening in the middle of the stomach there. The front skirts will move all the way up and down, so those shouldn't be too much of a problem in terms of getting in the way of our leg articulation. Side skirts also will move up and down a little bit like that. These don't actually open up. If you wanted to have them like displayed opened up like he's taking their grenades out or whatever, you'd have to mod that a little bit. It's just a piece that just fits onto the side of there. Back skirt does not move up and down at all, but again, it's a new back skirt piece. If you do want to use the original back skirt piece, that is included if, again, for whatever reason, you don't want to have the fuel tanks there on the back skirt. The legs can come all the way out to the side like that, very nice, all the way forward like that, also very good, basically 90 degrees there. Again, we have our nice bend there in the knee. No separation of the knee armor or anything there, unfortunately. At the top of the thigh, we do have some rotation there as well. The ankles will move side to side, not super far, but pretty good. We have a double joint here in the ankle, so to get it bent any farther forward, you kind of have to bring it forward a little bit and then bend it forward to get the foot forward that much, down all the way back to there, which is pretty good. No bend in the toe at all. It's all just one solid foot here. But up underneath the feet, there's some nice detail. This little bit here on the front of the ankle doesn't move. That's just fixed part of the foot there. So as you can see, while there are a few seam lines on there, the articulation is pretty solid, and the construction overall, just the way the kit all goes together, everything is done in a pretty nice way that it's really, I mean, again, aside from having to wipe out a few of those seam lines there, shouldn't be too difficult of a kit to paint. And in terms of just cleaning everything up and all that, getting it ready for painting, shouldn't be too bad at all. Now, one thing I did find out is that the articulation there in the waist is going to be a little bit limited just by the fact of like the fins of the backpack that stick down there in the center of the backpack. You'll only be able to rotate that at the waist so much because when those fins are down there, they'll run into the side fuel tanks that are sticking out, if that makes sense. But as you can see, while the downside of those fuel tanks is adding a lot of weight to the back of the kit, they do make for some pretty dynamic poses with having those sticking out the back of there. While this kit would look pretty cool, even with just a normal backpack in some poses like this, I think with those fuel tanks on there, it makes for a pretty striking kit. Now the thing about that is that this is also going to take up a lot of shelf space with those fuel tanks on there, so that might be something else you might want to consider if that is an issue for you. And with that, we can pretty much kind of wrap up the review here. As you can see, the articulation and the posing of it is pretty nice. The details are really nice on this kit as well. Looks really good for a high grade. There are some stickers on there for missing color apps, so you might want to paint those if you want. Otherwise, I don't think they're really super necessary unless you're really concerned about color accuracy. Just because they're just slightly different colors basically than what the colors originally molded in. As for the new parts for this kit, they're pretty good as well. I think kind of would have been nice to have a new variation of the rifle, maybe to get a new rifle that's just a little bit different. That maybe would have been cool. But the fuel tanks and everything, the backpack, the use of this Dark Jenkins backpack there is done nicely. And then of course the new parts for the added articulation to the knee are also a really nice touch in there as well as the new part there for the head. That's also really nice and nicely detailed for that little tiny part on there added to the front of the head. So overall you have a good use of old parts and a good amount of new parts that are used effectively as well. Unfortunately, we do also have a lot of leftover parts, so that is going to add to the cost. All that leftover plastic that ultimately doesn't end up getting used at all. So that's unfortunate, but there's just kind of no way around that at times. I don't think they really could have chopped up the runners any other way. So essentially what it is just taking an old high-grade kit, which is still very good, and just recycling some old parts, adding some new flair onto it with some new parts, and it makes for a pretty nice release, and a good candidate for a P-Bandai kit, as P-Bandai kits we usually like to see just something that's not too much new, basically just a slight variation to a kit that we've already got, and so that is kind of what we would like to see as P-Bandai kits, as opposed to something that's like has a lot of new parts to it or something that's drastically different. Those we would prefer would come out as standard releases, but unfortunately it's just kind of a roll of the dice sometimes, it seems. But in the next video we'll take a look at the Team B and C version, and then we'll also take a look at some comparisons. We'll take a look at how this looks together, how these kits look together with the Narrative Gundam, of course. And we'll just omit the articulation portion of that review. So we'll take a look at that kit coming up next. If you guys do have any other further questions or comments, of course, feel free to leave those down in the section below. And just thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys the next time. Bye-bye. Hey! Thanks for watching, guys. Remember, if you want to check the kit out for yourself, you can head over to USA Gundam Store. Use that coupon code ZakuAurelius10. Save yourself 10%. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.